Hello nieces and niestas, how are you today? Welcome back to the channel. I want to thank you guys for coming back to the channel. I'm SavingsFashionista, she is I, and I am her, and over here we do mainly things fragrances, whether it's body or home. So today you guys, we are here to do a full dedicated fragrance review. If you're interested in hearing all about my thoughts on this fragrance, please stay tuned. Let's do a little housekeeping before we get started. You already know the drill. If you are returning, if you would, please just go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. If you're new and you like what you hear, if you would, please subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up and turn your notification bell on so that you will always be alerted when I upload content. So the dedicated fragrance that we are about to talk about today is from the house of Replica. It is long overdue. I've really been in between whether or not I wanted to provide a full dedicated review on this fragrance, but I said I'm gonna just go ahead and do it, you guys, because I think when it initially came out it got a lot of hype, and then after a while it just kind of faded away, but I still want to give my input on it. So this fragrance was released like at the bottom part of the year of 2022, the latter part of the year. But I did not purchase this until 2023. I'm not really sure if it wasn't available into 2023 in stores here in the state. I'm not really sure about the specifics on that, but we're gonna just get right into it. So the fragrance is by Replica, which is a Maison Margiela brand. It never fails. Candid moment. I'm just realistic. So this is a, it could go in either category because, you know, Maison Margiela, he is a part of the pop culture, right? However, this is a separate entity from the Maison Margiela. This is an actual fragrance brand which sell fragrances and home fragrances. So you could say that it's kind of niche, but I just think it's kind of like in between because the creator, he is more on the designer spectrum. But this is On a Date. It comes in your standard, just very chic, minimalistic type of packaging that Maison Margiela puts his fragrances in that I really like. Although I'm a somewhat gaudy girl, but I do like the presentation of this. And this is the 30 ml. You can get this on the Maison Margiela site, or you can get it at Sephora. I normally purchase mine from Sephora. Anytime that I can get a fragrance from Sephora, I do, because I get points with Sephora. And sometimes they may have these little pop-up sales. So in my fragrance reviews, I give you the fragrance notes. I also give you the longevity, the projection. I give you what I think the best fitting season to wear the fragrance. And I also give you the fragrance class. So let's just get right into it. This is definitely a unisex fragrance. I do think that it is for a male or a female. If I had to say which one it leans closer to, I would definitely say it's more female to me. More settled, mature type of female fragrance. So the fragrance notes are black currant liqueur accord, bergamot oil, pink pepper oil, rose petal essence, geranium oil, Aveeno oil, patchouli essence, vetiver oil, moss accord, and musk. So as you heard, this is loaded with very eccentric type of oils, if I must say, because geranium oil, that is one of those oils that could be very dominating in a fragrance, as well as patchouli. So I do like the way that they kind of like clarified that it's essence, and I think in the fragrance world, when it's essence, it's not like a full-on blast of this particular oil. It's just like a very mild dosage. Yes, and On a Date, it definitely has some very potent, strong floral notes, as you heard. I do think that this fragrance is best to wear, but you wear what you want to wear, never forget that. But my recommendation would be winter as well as fall. And you possibly could get away with it on some spring nights at nighttime, in my opinion, because it is just that strong. Okay, so let's talk about its lasting power. Now, projection, that means that I can idly smell this fragrance without having to make any skin to nose or clove to nose contact. I can just smell it. You're going to get about 6 hours. And in my opinion, that's relatively strong for an eau de toilette. This isn't eau de toilette. The longevity, you're going to get anywhere from 8 to 10 hours, depending on how heavy you spray the fragrance on. So it is definitely a long-lasting fragrance. Very strong, and I wouldn't expect anything else with the combination of fragrance notes that they have in here too, especially. The geranium and the patchouli, those are very strong, heavy, woody floral type notes. Very strong. Now the fragrance class, like I said earlier, some of you may consider it to be designer because Maison Margiela, he is a part of the pop couture culture, but this is a separate launch of fragrance and home fragrance, so it could very well be considered to be a niche. So you go figure, you decide which one it is. And this is a very different type of fragrance, very different from the preferable DNA of fragrances that I like. When I first got this fragrance and I smelled this fragrance, it reminded me of a fragrance that I already have in my collection that I'm not very fond of, but I do wear it and experience it, and I haven't worn it in a very long time, but I wore it when it was first purchased for me, and that is the Chanel Gabrielle. So it has the same type of fragrance DNA, and I would even say somewhat of the Madame Oiselle as well. And the only reason that I wear that Chanel Gabrielle is because my husband bought it for me, and when he takes the time out and go and surprise me and buy me a fragrance that I did not request or ask for, to me that says that he likes it. So I wear it so that he can enjoy what he's smelling on me. So that's what made me just said, okay, go ahead and keep it. Although it's not your preference, it's good, it's beautiful, but there's a catch to it. And I'm glad that I did delay this review, because when I initially wore it, the opening, you got that very that high peppery note that you get from the pink pepper, and you could get that like sparkling effervescence note, which I don't really know where that come from. I don't know what Aveeno oil is, and in my opinion, vetiver is more woody than it is sparkling. And according to the bottle, the description says that it's grapes and roses. So maybe that effervescence kind of come from that grape note. I'm not really sure. But when I wore it during the colder season, it's spring here now, and we have had a couple of warm days. When I wore it during the colder seasons, it was nice. It was good. It was just that mature, developed female fragrance. Like I said, it puts me in the mind of Chanel's Gabrielle. But when I wore it here recently, you guys, I noticed that whatever that fruity note is in here, the grapes, I could definitely smell like fermented fruit, and I don't like that because it kind of lends itself to like a sour note, the note that you kind of get with a grapefruit. So that was a turn off, and I'm sure it was because it was a much warmer day on this particular day, because I did not get that on my first wear or my second wear when I was wearing it when it was much colder. So that's why I said you could possibly wear this in the springtime at night. I would not recommend this to wear during a warm day, because it's something about my body chemistry, and when those fruits like bergamot, certain fruits like bergamot and grapes in that type of category, although there's two different type of fruits, after a while it just starts to smell very fermented to me. It starts to smell like wine, like you processing some type of wine. I know when I was little, my grandmother used to experiment and, you know, attempt to make wine. That's another story for another day. And it just really puts me in that frame of mind when I wore it during a warmer day. So, like I said, the closest thing that I could relate it to is, of course, Chanel's Gabrielle. And I said in my first review, I said that it reminds me of Barreto. That was not the fragrance house I meant to cite. I meant to say Mancera, because I have something in my fragrance collection that I'm about to declutter. Musky Garden, or yeah, that's it, Musky Garden. So it puts me in the mind, you know, how in depth and how strong and deep some of those Mancera fragrances are. That's what this particular fragrance put me in the mind of on a date. It was totally different from most of the fragrances that I have already from this house. They're like clean. They're clean. They're kind of airy. They do have, you know, like some fruity, exotic notes in at least one of them, but they're more of a, you know, just everyday type of fragrance. I would not consider this to be an everyday type of fragrance. It is definitely a fragrance that you would wear on a special occasion or on a date. So I do think that they gave it the perfect name. I do think that there is an audience for this particular fragrance, because I know some people who love those deep Chanel fragrance. My favorite one is the Chance Etendre. That's my favorite one. I could pass on the Gabrielle as well as the Coco Mademoiselle. They're just so deep, you know, so strong. It's just not my fragrance preference as far as the DNA of a fragrance. But I will be keeping this in my collection. Like I said, I do think that it's for a cooler month, cooler season for me, because what it develops into with that fermented fruit smell, I cannot get with it. It makes me very self-conscious because it has like this sour note to it. So these are my thoughts on Maison Margiela's Replica on a date. Please leave any comments below if you have sampled this fragrance, or if you have the fragrance, or if you were thinking about getting the fragrance. Let me know what you think about the fragrance, or how you feel about the fragrance in the comment section below. I want to thank you guys for being who you are, and do not forget, you, yes you are great. Bye-bye.